You mentioned in your documentary that vaccines are like religion. Why are you stating this?
Well, because if you look at the history of science, science was designed to replace religion in many ways. It was designed to explain things we couldn't explain. As humanity, we got tired of having to have faith that the sun is going to come up based on our prayers. We're praying for the sun to come back. And if you look at native cultures in America, Anasazi, thousands of years old, they had rituals just asking for the sun to come back at the end of winter. So from that perspective, we got tired of having religion explain everything. We wanted facts. We wanted a way to prove ourselves. And that's where science comes from. Now, of course, you have Galileo, who's, one of the first ones to say the earth is not the center of the universe. And the scientific community lashes out and the church lashed out and put him under house arrest. That's what it did. But over time, what I'm saying is it stopped being science. Science is supposed to be questioned. Science is supposed to have answers to questions. Science does not call you a heretic and say you're not allowed to ask that question. That's what religion does, right? Religion says you have to have faith. And if you ask us hard questions, then we're just going to call you names and banish you from our community. Well, that's what science is doing now. Science, instead of saying, for people like me, why have you never done a vax versus unvaccinated study? Why did you never do a placebo-based trial? They'll say, heretic, don't listen to him. That's misinformation. And I've been censored. I've had my YouTube channel shut down, my Facebook channel shut down, my internet has been taken away at times. That's how you react when you're a religion, which is you're not allowed to question me. Whereas science, really, the basis of science is called the scientific method. The scientific method actually says it only works if everybody with a question gets to the front of the line. Science is supposed to say if you have any issue with a product we've made or a theory that we believe in, step forward. You should be the first one to step and take whatever attack you can upon a hypothesis or a theory or a product, and then we should be able to defend it. That's how science is supposed to work. It is never settled. You never say the science is settled because that's ridiculous. Science is always evolving. We're always learning more about the universe. We're learning more about environment. There's things we may not have had right. When you say the science is settled, that is a religious statement. That is not a scientific statement. And so that is why I say that this is really more of a religion. And then when you see how we line up for it, we don't ask questions of it. We treat our doctors as though they're priests, as though they're clergy. We don't ask them questions. We end up just handing our baby over to what I would say is like a cult sacrifice. In many ways, they're being injected with all sorts of toxins and chemicals and bacteria and viruses. Why? I mean, we make fun of cultures that maybe have rings in their neck or, put things in their lips or do things to their children as a part of a societal entrance, coming of age thing. Well, we're doing that to our kids in this sort of religious, tradition. The perfect example is in America. You have to get a hepatitis B vaccine on the first day of life. I do talks where I say, if you're a Christian, this is like, or even the Old Testament, this is like original sin. The medical establishment has created its own new religion, which is your baby has a sin. It is a sick being the moment it's born. And within the first day of life, it must be injected with, in this case, hepatitis B, a sexually transmitted disease that you're only going to catch if you're sharing, heroin needles or sleeping with prostitutes. That's the only reason you need that vaccine. So why does a day one old baby need that? There's no argument for it, except if the mother happens to be hepatitis B positive herself. Then, okay, maybe vaccinating makes sense. But in America, we do blood tests with every mother. I would imagine the same is true in Croatia. They must do blood tests. And so you know exactly whether they have hepatitis B or not. And so in this case, you're giving a product the baby does not need. Therefore, it is only at risk. And that is like a religious tradition more than it has any basis in science. That's how I defend that statement that I make.